And for more on this matchup between Fongaro and Limley, we go back to Olivia.
When I spoke with Michigan's head coach, Sean Bormet, he said he admires the way Lemley competes and believes in himself and his positive attitude on and off the mat. Lemley will be matched up with IU's Dan Fongaro, who's had a fantastic season so far. Very interested to see where Fongaro is with Lemley tonight. Back to you guys.
Two guys that are on the opposite ends of the spectrum in terms of where they are at in their careers. Sergio Limley, a true freshman for this Michigan squad from Chesterton, Indiana, 13-5 on the season. Dan Fongaro, the graduate student from Lincoln, New Jersey, 18-4. And Bormet described Limley as tough as nails. And as we see his young career transition the next few years, he's going to be a staple guy for this Wolverine squad, Graham. And you know, he'll turn that tough as nails into steel, into gold. He'll refine it. He'll get better and better, and he's got a legit shot to win a couple national championships later down the line.
That's absolutely right, Riley. And with his tough as nails attitude, he's actually got one of the easiest demeanors that we have seen in college wrestling. He is so composed, fearless. He just rises to the occasion. And he's got a tough match on his hands, though, here with Fongaro. Fongaro does a great job of controlling the center of the mat. And Lemley just going to have to try to take his time, be patient, get those looks that he can get to so well.
So if you're just joining us, it was a lightning strike of a start for Michigan. They got the fall at 125 and then continued that on with the tech fall at 133. They're up 11-0 right now over the Indiana Hoosiers. Match 3 of the night at 141. Limley in front headlock position, trying to get that head in the hole, turn to the corner. Drops down to a single leg snatch single for Fongaro. Crackdown position on the edge of the mat. It's Limley it's Fongaro that's holding onto the leg of Limley, the near ankle. Limley able to hook the legs there. You see, hook the legs of Fongaro on the edge of the mat. That's how the official's going to award him the takedown there. And Limley up 3-0, scores first at 141.
I think Fongaro was a little too defensive there straight on. He knows Lemley just can break you down so easily with an underhook, and he just loves to control your head and your upper back, and he's so good at it. So I think Fongaro was preparing for that almost a little too much, and then Lemley just turned the corner so fast, like you said, and got a nice three-point takedown to start the scoring here in 141.
You want to talk about a freshman phenom, Sergio Limley, who's made some noise in every sense of the word this year. 7-2 in duels, 4-2 in Big Ten duels. He's faced off against 11 ranked opponents this season as a true freshman, and he's beaten 7 of them, including #1 ranked Real Woods of Iowa. He won that one by major decision, 14-2. As Fongaro gets the escape, he gets on the board. But man, just such a fierce competitor as Fongaro and on a single leg trying to elevate, peek through position on the attack. Great defense so far by Limley. In this situation, Graham, it's both wrestlers. They have an ankle. You see that. It's who can elevate first, who can get that upward pressure.
That's absolutely right. They're clinging onto those ankles for dear life, as that will end the period. But a hot start for Lemley. Fongaro hanging in there. He is also tough as nails. He had a great comeback in the Michigan State match that was here in their last home meet, and he knows how to battle, how to get through tough matches. He's going to have to do the same here.
You mentioned the Michigan State meet, Graham, and that was one that Angel Escobedo said was just taking it one match at a time, but he really couldn't believe it. Indiana fell the first 4 matches. Michigan State was up 18-0, and Indiana won the last 6 matches to close the deal. And Graham Rooks shut the door with a pin in the last matchup of the day and got Indiana their 3rd conference win of the season as we're tied up on the edge of the mat. It's Limley that went kind of for a little bit of an ankle pick. Nothing doing in terms of stalling, so we'll reset center mat. It's Limley that's up 4-1 with the second period escape. Minute 30 to go in period 2 at 141. Michigan 11, Indiana 0. Freshman versus grad student.
Going back to that Michigan State meet, like you were talking about, Riley, that was the sparks and the fireworks that we were talking about. And it was really Fongaro that I felt like gave them that energy and that edge. He was down 3 points with 10 seconds to go. Got an escape, got a takedown, and basically the very last millisecond. And it was unreal what he was able to do with those 10 seconds, get that win for the Hoosiers and really keep them in it. Because if he lost that, they were out of it. That was going to Michigan State.
The closest takedown I've ever seen in college wrestling, and I think a lot of people would agree with me. Front headlock position again. This is how Limley scored the first time. Fongaro back up to his feet. Limley inside on an attack. Fongaro gets the legs back to the mat. We go out of bounds, and it's Fongaro that will get warned for stalling. Keep that in mind with 37 seconds left in period 2.
Lemley just so quick trying to turn that corner. Honestly, Fongaro doing a good job keeping Lemley in front of him. But when you've got a guy that's so strong with your head and just moving it around and then can also get around your body, it's so hard to defend. And Fongaro only down 3 as this second period winds down. He's not in the worst position that we've seen.
Dan Fongaro transferring in from Columbia. Owns a 19-3 victory over Max Hermes of Rutgers. 16-16 at Columbia last year's 1-3 versus ranked opponents. First at the Battle of the Citadel, second at the Keystone Classic. Limley again just really pushing the pace. There's a lot of fire with this freshman. I love it.
So much fire, and the easiest demeanor, you see him just jog back to the center. I mean, this guy is locked in, and as locked in as I think I've ever seen a freshman. He is so solid. And in his last match against Hardy, he did lose that by major decision, 13-9. But that was so evenly matched the entire way. The only thing, Hardy just had more gas in the tank coming down the stretch. So Fongaro, if he can do the same thing, if he can have that extra kick at the very end in this third period, that could be huge for him and huge for this Hoosiers team.
Dan Fongaro coming off a 19-6 major decision loss to the number 3 ranked wrestler at Ohio State and Jesse Mendez. Very fierce competitor, Indiana legend in high school. You know, I talked to Angel Escobedo about it earlier on this week, Graham, and, you know, sometimes the tendency is to get down on yourself when you lose by that much to a really solid team, a really solid ranked team, the Big Ten, the premier conference in college wrestling, but a lot of stuff that you can learn and improve on as tournament time comes around, Big Tens and NCAAs.
No, absolutely, Riley. When we talked to Escobedo, the one thing he really emphasized, I felt like, was you can't focus on winning and losing. That gets you in really tricky spots. That's just not the mindset that you can have. And I think this is a great example of that. If the Hoosiers here try to focus on winning, then it'll get them tight, get them tense. They won't be able to wrestle smoothly like they know how to do. So they just really got to keep that positive mindset and just be enthusiastic.
Limley just not giving an inch on top. A minute 8 left to go in the third period at 1:41. Indiana still looking for their first win of the dual meet. Limley up 4-1 over Fongaro. Limley the freshman, Fongaro the graduate student. Heavy hips from Limley, just stingy on top.
Limley just holding on for dear life. He is so good on that top position. Fongaro just can't really set his base right now. He just can't get up.
We do know that Fongaro does have a flair for the dramatic. He has finished matches at the end of periods. He's going to have to come up with something here. 35 seconds left in the third period at 1:41. Stalemate. We reset back at center mat.
This is where you give it your all, Riley. You got 35 seconds. You need to get your team on the board, already down 11-0 in the first 2 matches. This has got to be all out. Pedal to the metal from Dan Fongaro, trying to get out of the grips of Sergio Limley.
As Limley covers, Fongaro goes stand up off the whistle. Limley looking for that mat return. Inside trip once again. Lifting Fongaro up and planting him back at center mat right at the Indiana logo.
Second he got him in the air, it was all over. He is so strong. Not the biggest guy in his weight class, but boy, does he have the strength to make up for that, Riley.
10 seconds left in period 1. Sergio Limley up 4-1. Fongaro goes for a Granby roll. Escapes. Front headlock position. Tried to go for a late takedown. Nothing doing. Sergio Limley. This guy's going to be a legend and a problem. Look out for him.
Such a good match from Limley there. I almost thought Fongaro was going to get out and get another 3-point takedown there at the very end. Like you said.
And Fongaro and Limley comes up with a 5-1 decision. Michigan up 14-0 after 3 matches. So we head into 149, and this is going to be an interesting one, Graham. It's Graham Rooks, the graduate student from Columbus, Indiana, 14-7 on the season. Austin Gomez, 5-1, the graduate student from Carroll Stream, Illinois. Both these guys similar ages. And should be a lot of experience that we see, a lot of veteran wrestling between these two. And this one, kind of going to be a very fun one to watch.
I couldn't have said it better myself, Riley. It is going to be a lot of fun. These two play very similar types of wrestling, actually. They're both very bouncy, very good at scrambling. And Rooks, just great at escaping, going to have to keep control of the center of the mat to give it his best shot. But Gomez so strong, so confident, so professional. This is going to be a fun one.
You see Gomez digging in those underhooks, Rooks knowing the history with Gomez, knowing that, Gomez, Graham, can score on you in so many different ways, but he's a masterclass on his feet, and when he wants to, he can throw you into the third row.
That's exactly right. And you could see a nice turn there from Rooks, just trying to get his butt to the center of the mat again, trying to get control. He doesn't want to get called for a stalling here either, like we saw in the last match. That could be brutal against a guy like Austin Gomez.
Gomez, only action in duels this season, 5-1 in duels, 5-1 overall. He's 3-1 versus ranked opponents. We go front headlock on the map. Gomez with wins over Alec Martin of South Dakota State, Ethan Miller of Maryland, Dylan D'Amelio, he put 17 points up on the Ohio State Buckeye. So got a 5-1 decision over Victor Voinovich in Michigan's upset over Iowa earlier this season. Stalemate reset with halfway to go in period one at 149 between Gomez and Rooks.
What I love about Graham Rooks, Riley, is he just gets straight to the point with his wrestling. He does not waste time. He does not stall. And he's having some trouble right now against Gomez. Gomez so solid defensively. We've talked about his offense, obviously, very strong. But right now, his defense, as strong as his offense is, as we know it to be. So Rooks, he's going to have to make some adjustments here. Gomez is reading him very, very well. And Rooks just going to have to make some adjustments.
A lot of tie-ups, a lot of hard, heavy collar ties with less than a minute to go in period one at 149. Rooks, nice level change shot fake. Nice front headlock defense from Gomez. If we line these two up together and we stood them shoulder to shoulder, I think Rooks would have the height advantage. Definitely a little bit more lanky, but Gomez, a lot shorter, a lot more spry, a lot more compact. That's what allows him to be so explosive sometimes.
Yeah, and we've seen that explosion so far, and you can see it right now, pushing Rooks to the edge of the mat there, trying to get him out of bounds. Rooks just can't keep up with the pace. And in his last match against Dylan D'Amelio, Rooks really forced stalling calls on D'Amelio really well. That's what he did so fantastically in that match. He ended up losing it, but he kept his butt to the center of the mat, stayed in the center, and he's got to do a bit of the same thing here against Gomez. Gomez, I think, knows that, and so he's pushing him as far out of the center as he possibly can.
Rooks lost that one 4-2. Gomez in on an attack, shelfing the leg on the edge of the mat. Nothing called yet. Wizard defense from Rooks. 2 seconds left. No takedown. Great defense from Graham Rooks. A good leg attack by Gomez.
Great leg attack, but you just cannot keep Rooks still. He's just constantly moving, and Gomez did get that first grip, but he just couldn't finish it.
As you get a look at Sean Bourmet, the 6th season as the Michigan head coach, 54-17 overall. He's coached 2 NCAA champions in Nick Suriano and Mason Paris. 2022 was a big year for him. Big Ten and NWCA National Coach of the Year. Got first at the Big Ten Championships and second at the NCAAs. 3-time Terry McCann Award winner. As it is Rooks that starts on bottom in period 2. Gomez doing a good job of just kind of hanging on the back of Rooks. We go out of bounds. Rooks wants a reset, and he will get just that. Minute 32 left in period 2, 149. No score on the board between Gomez and Rooks. And in this situation, Graham, both these guys obviously filling each other out on the neutral side of things. Both these guys very capable of getting out from bottom. So what's it going to have to take for both of these guys to finish a takedown on their feet to win this match?
I've always thought it's just about the first move, Riley. If you can get the get your head down before your opponent, and then you can get into their legs, I think that's the big key for both of these guys. Obviously, they're both quick. They can both sprawl out of anything they'd like. But I think if one can just kind of get their head low, break through that first line of defense, that they can then get the takedown. They're both so strong and so fast.
Graham Rooks, first at the Southern Scuffle this season. Beat Cody Bond of App State in the championship match in sudden victory. This guy has a knack for winning close matches that comes with the veteran experience. Great mat return from Gomez. Looked for the Turk, couldn't get it. But he's past that 1 minute of riding time.
Gomez doing such a good job of just keeping hold of his legs. It was Rooks that almost got out there for a second. Gomez just grabbed his ankle at the very last second, spun him round, and then was able to elevate for that great mat return. And he is just riding along now with 1:13.
Gomez in the midst of training to qualify for the Olympics, for the Olympic team in Mexico. Got to really talk about that really cool storyline with Coach Bourmet this morning. And, you know, it's hard to kind of balance it, but Bourmet said it's a two-way thing, and Gomez has done a great job with it as Rooks gets the escape. But just so cool to see, you know, you kind of look at Gomez's track record this season, you're like, he hasn't really wrestled so many matches. Well, he's busy qualifying for the Mexico Olympic team. So when you throw that in, certainly he's getting a lot of match experience all over the place.
Absolutely. It's a bit of a dual mission, like Bourmet said, and he's just loving his confidence and professionalism. Bourmet said that he was so happy to just be a part of the team, be here with these guys, and I think that really shows in his constant effort to try with the Wolverines, even though he's trying to do something incredible in qualifying for the Olympic national team.
Gomez doing a great job of controlling the center of the mat. He forces a stall call on Rooks. So the match is 2-1 heading into the third period of action at 1:49. You see Coach Angel Escobedo coaching up Graham Rooks. Escobedo in his 6th season as well. 27-44 as the head coach of Indiana. 16 NCAA qualifiers and a career best 4 NCAA qualifiers last season. Had a record-setting year last year, 8-5 on the season. Spent some time on Iowa State's coaching staff. Of course, wrestled here from 2007 to 2010. Won the 2008 NCAA title at 125, 3 Big Ten titles, and the thing that everybody mentions, the program's only 4-time All-American. That's what he's told me is the key for continuing to build this program up. Getting those All-Americans and placers at the NCAAs.
Back on the mat, boy, Gomez is just so fast, isn't he? He got out of that bottom position in just a few seconds. Rooks was trying to hold on for dear life.
Starting to see some new life out of Rooks as this match is tied 2-2. Indiana still looking for their first win of the night. Michigan up 14-0. Stalemate back to the center. And again, factoring in riding time, Gomez would win this match 3-2. He has 1:18 of riding time. Rooks is going to have to look for a takedown or even force a stall call on Gomez. Level change from Gomez. Front headlock defense from Rooks. Back to our feet. See Gomez posting on the head, just not letting Rooks to get into his body. Rooks responds with a collar tie and then an over tie. 40 seconds left.
Like Coach Escobedo said, you just can't take a break against these Wolverines. They're so tough. Rooks just has to hang in there, like you said, look for a last-second move.
25 seconds left and counting. Graham Rooks, if there was ever a takedown he needed, he's got to go now. Shot attempt there, shot in space. Great defense from Gomez, just front headlock to the mat again. Just trying to burn this match away.
And Rooks gonna look for a Fongero type of finish here. Very last seconds, has to make something happen.
10 seconds. Gomez responds with a shot of his own. Pummel position for both wrestlers. And Austin Gomez guts one out at 1:49. He wins at 3-2.
I thought Rooks almost had something at the very end with his left. He reached around, grabbed the back of the knee of Gomez. Looked like he had a solid grip, but Gomez said, nuh-uh, you've got nothing, and just
some ups, had some downs, and it's Nick South, the redshirt senior from North Vernon, Indiana, who's had very few matches this season. He's kind of gotten bumped around a couple different weight classes in his career here. It's typically been, well, first off, it was Derek Gilcher, then Tyler Lillard, but now Nick South getting his opportunity, experienced guy on this Indiana squad, going against another anchor for the Wolverines in Cam Amin.
One thing I love about South, he's so good at dancing around and scrambling. In his last match against number 11th ranked Rocco Welsh, he had to do a lot of that dancing around. He just couldn't really establish himself well in the center. And against a guy like Cameron Amin, it could go similarly. He is so positionally solid. He's tough on his feet. really strong on the offensive side as well. He just got to get to his spots, and then he can do a lot of damage on this mat here in Indiana.
Cam Amin, 8-5 on the season, fifth-year senior from Brighton, Michigan. 4-3 in duels this season, 2-3 in Big Ten duels, 2-5 against ranked opponents. Had a first period pin against Ryan Money of Maryland. Sudden victory win 4-1 versus Luke Gayer of Rutgers. He's kind of struggled, had an up and down season so far this year, but definitely looking to turn it on as March rolls around, tournament time gets started, and eventually into the NCAA tournament.
Absolutely, looking for some momentum personally as well for this IU squad. And South, no fear in this man's eyes. He shoots so hard and so fast, so consistently, as you have seen so far here against Amin. He is not afraid to go low, get to the legs, and really just try to suck the legs in really hard, and he does it very, very well.
Halfway through this first period at 165, scoreless between Amin and South. Amin, the number 10 ranked wrestler in the country. Michigan up 17-3. A couple bonus point victories for the Wolverines at 125 and 133 got us to this point. I think South 5-7 on the season, fourth at the Lindenwood Open. Lost to Rocco Welsh of Ohio State by major decision 14-5. This was his first dual meet action of the season. He's mostly competed in tournaments this year.
Amin coming off of a match against Antrell Taylor. Taylor won it in sudden victory. It was 2-2 going into that last period of sudden victory. There was no takedowns in the entire match, Riley. It was just kind of riding, feeling each other out. And those two played it so, so tough. Very similar start here. The two guys just trying to feel each other out on the mat, see what they're made of, see what they're capable of, and both trying to just get some momentum here early. Both of these guys capable of winning without any takedowns.
Cam Amin certainly this season has had his ups and downs, as I mentioned, but at the same time, he's had some close victories and close losses against ranked opponents. Lost 3-1 to David Carr, the number 2 ranked wrestler from Iowa State. 6-4 loss to number 11 Caleb Fish of Michigan State. Tough weight class at 165, but certainly some confidence that you can build upon, even though you're not necessarily winning all of those ranked matchups. Definitely something you can build upon and say, hey, maybe I can get these guys in the Big Ten tournament.
Absolutely. And we heard head coach Sean Bourmet say that this guy brings a lot of experience. He's an anchor for the program, has been since day one. This guy is just so, so solid on the mat, knows what he's doing, so experienced, and like you said, can build a lot of confidence here late if he can get this victory here against South, and then maybe again on the road in their next meet against Central Michigan.
Scoreless between Amin and South as we start period 2 at 165. South on bottom, Amin on top. South cuts away and gets the escape.
That's so good for South. Amin's pretty solid when he's in that top position, but he's also very, very tough to beat when he's on his feet. Either way, South just needs to kind of pull something off here, be very aggressive, which he is good at. But one thing that we heard Bourmet say also about Amin, they need to get his attack rate up. He doesn't shoot as much as we saw in that last match against Taylor, and he's going to need to do a little bit more against South here.
Sean Bourmet's also said that the veterans have been really solid in inspiring the younger guys, and he's really excited to see how the young guys are going to see the veteran guys handle March, handle the tournament time, handle the NCAAs. Definitely something that the younger guys can learn from, such as Sergio Limley, even though he's bringing some competitive spirit and fire to the wrestling room on a daily basis, something that he can learn with and how to get your mindset right. Wrestling, such a mental sport, Graham.
Yeah, I mean, that's so important, like you said, having those guys to look up to see what they do, how they conduct themselves. That can be so important in these team sports that are also somewhat individual.
Go behind by Amin, trying to trip South down on the edge of the mat. Wow, you mentioned it, South able to get out of it, the flexibility, the athleticism, working around. He does get warned for stalling, but definitely content to give up a stall warning rather than a takedown at this point in time in the match, Graham.
Most definitely. You've got that 1-point lead. You're working in the second period here. That stall could come to hurt you if you can't keep that position in the center of the mat, something we've talked about a lot already tonight, Riley. But South doing a great job of feeling out Amin, 10th ranked wrestler in his weight class, and this is a really tight match so far.
Nick South wrestled 165 last year. He wrestled 174 the year before that. 10-8 in duels, or 10-8 last season. 5-4 in duels, including a sudden victory win against Purdue, where Indiana won by 1 point in West Lafayette a season ago.
One thing I think about, I don't know if it's the same for you, Riley, but when I see these guys and their ability to wrestle among the weight classes, bounce back and forth, it really shows me their versatility and that they're really strong.
South heads into the third period up 1-0, and for more on Amin and his family, we go to Olivia Stone.
Thanks, guys. We have Cameron Amin out here, who has grown up in Michigan household his whole life. Cam's uncles, cousins, father, and brother all wrestled for the University of Michigan. So Michigan wrestling is definitely a family tradition and passion for the Amins. I'm really excited to see how Cam uses that passion and family backing to fuel his wrestling tonight. Back to you guys.
Amin, quick stand up. Thanks, Olivia, for that. Again, such a special family. His father, Sam, Uncle Mike, brother Jordan, and cousins Malik and Miles all wrestled at Michigan in their careers. Amin, a 3-time NCAA All-American, 3-time NCAA qualifier. He's the last of 6 Amins in a long lineage of wrestling in the wrestling household. But I have a feeling that, you know, as time goes by, we're going to see the Amin family coming back in again, because when you have wrestling as such a big backbone in your family, it doesn't really ever go away, Graham.
No doubt, no doubt. This guy is so talented. Their entire family is. That's definitely a trait that can be passed down through generations. We will definitely see Amin names as we go forward, probably in this Michigan yellow and blue. Wouldn't be surprised to see these guys back out here.
We're down to a minute left at 165. Amin and South knotted up at 1 apiece. South has been warned for stalling. The Wolverines up 17-3 over the Hoosiers.
South warned for stalling, now doing a good job keeping his feet in the middle there, trying to keep Amin out of his way and make sure he stays offensive as well.
We know South can win the close ones. He's proven that with a few matches in his late career in Indiana. And we will reset at center mat with 33 seconds left in period 3. What's the mindset here, Graham? Obviously, you're looking for a takedown, but for both of these guys, you haven't really been able to get your takedown yet. So are you thinking about overtime at this point, or are you trying to get that takedown before you go into overtime?
I think it could go either way with these guys. They're so good at standing their ground. They have some stalling calls in the mix as well.
As Amin in deep on a double leg. No score yet, and there's the takedown on the edge of the mat. Amin coming in clutch, going double leg with short time left in the third period. Gets himself up 4-1.
That's some big experience there from Amin, not afraid to take the shot. Got South in the air, and it was all over there for Nick South.
Amin pulled the trigger, and it paid off for him as South goes stand-up. Nice return by Amin. South quickly back up to his feet, 5 seconds left. Trips South back down on the edge of the mat. And Cam Amin, with a late takedown in the third period, wins another match for Michigan. And the Wolverines increase their lead to 17.
That's such a close match again, Riley. Indiana really been fighting hard recently in these mat-you're-all in the end of those very late periods.
So for Michigan, we won't see Shane Griffith, who is the number 3 ranked wrestler in the country at 174. Instead, it will be Joseph Walker, the senior from Mishawaka, Indiana, went to Mishawaka High School. And DJ Washington, of course, for Indiana, number 17th ranked in the country in the weight class, 13-3, redshirt senior from Portage, Indiana. A couple of guys that can score, can attack in every sense of the word, are physical, or fast. Exactly what you'd expect at this weight class, Graham.
Most definitely. So much firepower between these two. They're very tall. DJ Washington, very lanky, as you can see, uses his length to his advantage. And these guys both force each other to attack laterally, not straight on. You really got to be able to turn a corner well against Washington as well, specifically. So it's going to be interesting to see how these two big swingers go at it.
As it is Walker that tied up Washington's headgear. We reset at center mat. 2 minutes left in period 1 at 174. Michigan up 23 over Indiana.
Washington did not wrestle against Ohio State. His last match against DJ Shannon of Michigan State. Shannon had a decision win there, 4-1, but it almost looked like Washington was a little too defensive he was very aware of Shannon being such a good wrestler, Shannon dealing with some injuries. Washington just a little strong on the defensive end. Like to see him get a little more offensive here early.
Yeah, and certainly it's something that you see as the grind of the Big Ten schedule continues to weigh on all these wrestlers, all these guys that are balancing schoolwork and also practices at the same time. Injuries common, as well as bumps and bruises. It's going to be what you expect in the Big Ten Conference. It's Big Ten wrestling. It's exactly what the Premier Conference is all about here in college wrestling, but it's all about those guys that can really pace themselves out and make sure they're completely fresh and 100% for the time March comes around.
It really is, and that just has such a toll on your mentality for these guys. They have got to be so strong mentally to do all the schoolwork, stay on top of everything wrestling-wise, and it can really take a toll. Like you said, Big Ten season, as it comes down to the wire here, some of these guys missing some dual meets, like we saw with D'Agostino for Michigan, just some big guys, big names that you're not going to see in these dual meets because of the toll that those hard schedules can take.
Walker's taken on a couple of ranked opponents this season. Tate Piccolo of Oklahoma, he lost 7-5, and then Jackson Turley of Rutgers lost that one 5-1, so definitely able to keep it close in these ranked matchups. Exactly what you want to see if you're Sean Bourmet and company, especially if you're number 3 ranked wrestler in the country and Shane Griffith unable to wrestle tonight. As Walker in wrestling in place for him, certainly something you want to see, and certainly a guy that can jump into the weight class is kind of a wild card and help you win a dual meet a couple matches along the way.
Most definitely, and Shane Griffith are some big shoes to fill. That guy, so talented. So for Walker to just jump in here, go toe-to-toe with DJ Washington, so impressive. Obviously, you've got Griffith in the locker room who you're wrestling against consistently. Definitely good training for him here against Washington.
Scoreless first period as we head into the second. Washington warned for stalling. Walker will choose bottom. DJ Washington has some explosive mat returns. More on Walker filling in for Shane Griffith. Griffith 12-2 on the season, grad student from Westwood, New Jersey. Was 9-0 in duels this season, 6-0 in Big Ten duels, 4-0 versus ranked opponents. That guy can just grind a match out. 2021 NCAA champ at 165 pounds, a 4-time All-American. Deep shoes to fill if you're Walker, but certainly keeping it scoreless with a guy like DJ Washington in the first period, that's huge for the Wolverine.
Yeah, very huge. I mean, that's just, if anything, a confidence booster. Saying to yourself, I can wrestle with this guy. DJ Washington, so talented. So we saw one of those huge mat returns that you were talking about, Riley. Washington just does a great job of flattening you out when you get on the mat and your chest is to the ground. Washington gonna have to try to do the same thing here if he wants to bump up that riding time, just try to get a point victory.
Washington 2-2 at the NCAAs a season ago, 8th at the Big Tens. Spent some time wrestling for the U23 World Team. Got second in freestyle at the team trials at 86 kilograms. 2-time IHSA state placer in Portage High School. Obviously, high school state championships going on all across the nation, across each state. The Indiana State Championships going on in Evansville tonight. They are typically not in Evansville, but Evansville having to step up and host because of the NBA All-Star game that is going on in Gainbridge Fieldhouse this weekend.
A lot of fun sports in the state of Indiana right now, Riley, and this I would call one of them. I mean, Big Ten wrestling Friday night doesn't get much better than that. Obviously, Michigan having their way with Indiana here early, but Washington been so strong in this top position, trying to get some big points.
DJ Washington eclipses the 1-minute mark of riding time as he holds Walker in the front headlock position, still in control. Washington is responsible for returning him to the mat. And that's a point for Walker. Remember, Washington warned earlier in the first period of this match. He gets the 1 minute of riding time, but you give up the stall call again, and it's a 1-0 match in favor of Walker.
Washington, yeah, second stall call is really hard in that situation. You're pretty much solid with the riding time finishing off this second period. Washington's so good at getting out of the bottom position. Now he really needs to get a takedown if he doesn't want this to go into overtime. Washington, as we know, lots of firepower. He can get to your legs super fast. Walker doing a good job of defending it with his head right now, keeping it low.
15 seconds left in period 2, 174. Walker with a 1-point advantage over Washington. Washington a minute 14 of riding time. Washington, you see, posting on the head, trying to work Walker into a different position than he wants. A couple of collar ties. Period 2 comes to an end.
Now
and in this situation, Graham, obviously your team's down 17 points. This is a must-win for the Hoosiers. They got to have this one if they want any chance of somehow tying this dual meet up or taking the lead.
Most definitely, and this is probably the biggest moment. 14 seconds over the 1 minute mark of riding time. If Washington can get out, he's just got to stick tough, stay in neutral for the rest of the match.
Tough ride from Walker, goes spiral right as he trips Washington back down to the mat. Washington trying to cut away, goes underhook. Walker with the body lock out of bounds. Did Washington get away? No, he didn't. Takes a little bit of tumble there on the edge. He slowly gets back up and returns to center mat. Walker still in control. He burned that 1 minute of riding time down to below a minute. Washington now at 57 seconds. So Walker, if he's able to hold on and keep Washington down these entire 2 minutes, he would win the match.
Yeah, and Washington did such a good job of getting to his feet pretty quickly there. Just Walker's hands were just grasped so tightly around his waist. He just couldn't do anything, couldn't get his hands off of him. As now, Walker in this great top position, Washington just trying to get a tripod or a quad pod here, as you see, trying to get on his feet.
Tough, heavy hips from Joseph Walker. He's got the near leg hooked of Washington. Washington trying to peel Walker's legs out to get his leg unhooked there.
Washington pushing his hips up too, almost tried for a roll there, and then Walker said, no, you're not doing that, pushed his hips right back down. Washington really gonna have to come up with something quickly here as there's only 1 minute left remaining.
Washington back up to his feet. Walker looking for a mat return and he gets it. Washington goes switch, back up to our feet. 50 seconds left at 174. We go out of bounds, no change. Walker still on top.
Wow, what an intense moment right there. Looked like Washington could have spun around and got the reversal for 2 points, but just couldn't get it in the end. Walker so strong. Such an impressive showing from this young man as he's trying to keep Washington down, take this big 1-0, 2-0 victory for Michigan.
He's got 48 seconds to do it. His team needs him if you're DJ Washington or Joseph Walker. Washington goes for the switch. Walker looking for a power half on the edge. Washington explodes out. Underhook locked around the body. Washington gets the escape. We're tied 1-1. 30 seconds left. Washington goes big move. We go out of bounds. They don't call the takedown. And here comes the challenge brick from CJ Red and the IU coaching staff.
I like that challenge, Riley. That was as close as it could have gotten to a takedown. I mean, he got him around. He was on his back so quickly. As you can see here, watch him just try to turn the corner and then gets him down.
So they're so here's the rule change that they had in the offseason, Graham. It used to be, if that was last year, that would be a takedown 100 times out of 100. What they're doing this year is they're allowing reaction time for the wrestlers. So again, they're going to determine on whether or not it was enough reaction time for Walker to get back up to his feet, and in which case there would be no takedown and we would still be neutral on our feet. But if they determined Washington was around him and in control for long enough, they'll give him the 3-point takedown. They also wiped out the hand touch takedown, where all you would need to do was get behind a guy and touch the mat. That would have been a takedown. Not so this year. You got to have a lot more dominance and control to get a takedown awarded for you this season.
We saw that reaction time change come into play last match for Michigan as well. Didn't work out in their favor. They thought they had a last-second takedown right before going into overtime. So we'll take another look at this.
You see the body lock, Washington with the underhook on the far side. It's a great move by Washington, just throws his hips into Walker. He's behind him there. He would have control, but they're going to look and determine on whether or not Walker was on the mat long enough and whether or not Washington was around him and in control long enough before Walker exploded back up onto his feet and got out of bounds.
Yeah, and it's so close. I mean, you can see the refs zooming in with their fingers. They're trying to get as close of a look at this as possible. Like you said, such a good move from DJ Washington. Bumped his hip into Walker, spun him around, and just tried to get on top. Walker just had a little leverage, get back on his feet, make this so close. Honestly, really impressive from Walker, able to get up with DJ Washington towering over you, trying to get that takedown.
Here's the call, no takedown awarded. We're back up to our feet, 26 seconds left. 1-1 at 174 between Walker and Washington. Washington has been warned for stalling. Washington snatch single, doubles off underneath. trying to hook the leg. Walker doing a great job on the defensive. Sprawls around and gets the takedown. Washington back around. And the match is stopped. I believe they're going to give a point to Washington for the escape. And then a violation on Walker for locking hands. So it's another point for Washington. And here comes the challenge brick from Sean Bourmet's crew.
What a sequence of events. Washington went for that shot, had Walker's legs in what seemed like an unbreakable bond, and then Walker just spins around, gets the reversal, gets the takedown actually. Washington, all of a sudden, those legs were gone. He had nothing to work with, and then Washington, with the awareness and the quickness, spin back around, get the reversal.
And passion, it always tends to boil to a head at the 174 weight class. It's just so fun to watch. And they do determine that it was locked hands, so 4-3, Walker with a 1-point advantage. Washington with 11 seconds to get a takedown. Here we go. Washington straight on double. Great defense from Walker. Washington shooting around, trying to go behind. Collects the leg. Trying to step out of bounds. Nothing doing. Joseph Walker comes in place of Shane Griffith and wins it over Washington 4-3 and just about ices the duel for Michigan.
What a finish. It looked like Washington had a cradle there. It looked like he could have gotten him to his feet, gotten that takedown, but such a good defensive